So now we're looking at risk of material misstatement and where we get professional marks in these questions. So the question always asks for what are the significant risks of material misstatement here. Now if your answer starts off with the answer significant risks include, you'll get no marks and the examiner will think, this student doesn't quite understand what this exam is all about. I've asked you for significant risks. So all risks you mention should be significant. You've no need to tell me significant risks include. Also, what you should be doing is you should be prioritising the list. You're being professional. You want to show them the most specific big risks first, ideally. So if you said the most significant risk is, or the two most significant risks are, then that's going to get you a lot more marks. You don't have to do it in order, but we'll come to that in a second. So when we're talking about significant risks, to get good professional marks, you have to say why it's significant, always saying why. So again, we say, well, it's because it's likely to happen and the magnitude of it is so big that that's why it's a real big risk that I'm bringing to your attention first. So your thought processes are enough regardless of what conclusion you come up to. So you might have thought this particular risk was the most significant and the examiner thought, no, it's not, it's a different one. Well, generally, as long as your thought processes are shown, you'll get the marks, you'll get the professional marks. Okay, so they're looking just for you to be professional rather than necessarily giving the right answer. Okay, so we've looked at why it's significant, and I said that you could do that specific numbering, put the biggest risk first, or you could put it in the conclusion. You could just conclude and say, look, the biggest risks out of these were, or in order they are, and that might be the easiest one because you're going through and you're just typing down the answer, aren't you? Only afterwards could you maybe make up your prioritization. So it's fine to do it in the conclusion. So we've been talking about professional marks and saying why it's significant, and saying why it's significant is analysis and evaluation. I now want to focus a little bit more on professional skepticism and judgment, and that tends to come in when there's management bias. So if you see any risk of management bias, then you're probably going to get some professional skepticism marks by working out that A, there's a potential management bias, and B, what effect would that have on their accounting treatment? They're going to treat it in a way that suits them, aren't they? So not only are you going to get the technical marks, you'll also get the professional skepticism marks. So, knowing how the world works, how does that fit into everything? Well, that is the final professional mark, commercial acumen. So the commercial reality. So knowing, for example, that, this piece of evidence that we're using isn't as good as the other piece of evidence because the management gave us that and they could be a bit biased, or it could be we're using management accounts instead of audited figures. So you'll get extra marks there for knowing how the world works, commercial reality, commercial acumen.